Halloween, a special time of year. Frights, delights, and sugary bites. And scary movies as well. Today I'm here to talk about one that I saw as a kid, and one I think deserves some attention and love. Monster House was a motion capture animated movie released in 2006, directed by Gil Kenan, and I would say it's an awesome scary movie for kids, which, despite the goofy aspects, I still think holds up extremely well and captures the essence and atmosphere of the season of scares masterfully. Our story takes place in a small suburban town called Mayville, and follows a young boy named DJ, played by Mitchell Musso, who lives across the street from Old Man Nevercracker, played by Steve Buscemi. Nevercracker is the stereotypical old man who doesn't want anyone on his lawn, but when DJ and his friend Chowder, played by Sam Lerner, accidentally supposedly kill Nevercracker, his house becomes a living, breathing monster that begins eating anyone or anything that comes near it. With Halloween mere hours away, DJ and Chowder team up with a student fundraiser named Jenny, played by Spencer Locke, to form a plan to kill the monster house and save the neighborhood. Monster House is one of the few movies made by Image Movers using motion capture technology, and while they used the technology to capture the magic of Christmas in the Polar Express, which I loved, in this, well, they captured the aesthetics of fall and Halloween in a perfect blend of small-town decorations and the colors of orange, brown, and yellow. While I think the environments are still beautiful, the character models are interesting. The best way I can describe the characters in Monster House is stop motion without the stopping, if that makes sense. What I mean is that every character has the aesthetic of being made out of clay, with little in the way of realism. While this style does produce some questionable faces at times, I do think that it works for the most part. Some of the facial animations do look off at times, like I said, but I think the style fits the aesthetic that they're trying to go for quite well. With that being said, let's talk about the acting. The main trio who play DJ, Chowder, and Jenny are all great, although Chowder can have his moments where he hams it up a tiny bit too much, but I'll touch on that more in a little bit. Steve Buscemi as Mr. Nevercracker. What can I say? He plays this role perfectly, and in the time we see him, he's got charm to spare. Catherine O'Hara and the late Fred Willard, who play DJ's parents, are great, and I especially love John Heder as this nerd named Skull, who DJ, Chowder, and Jenny go to for advice. And yes, that's where the meme of the dude eating the candy bar comes from. You know who I'm surprised by every time I watch this, though? Kevin James and Nick Cannon as these two cops. I usually can't stand these two whenever they attempt comedy, but they're really good here. Maybe it's because their comedy is brief and they don't overstay their welcome, but I find myself laughing out loud a lot when they're on screen. That being said, this leads into two problems I have with Monster House. One being major, and the other minor, which the minor one matters more here, so let's tackle that one first. Monster House describes itself as horror comedy, and while I admit that comedy is highly subjective, there's a lot of points in this movie where I just didn't laugh all that much. I don't know how to explain it, but there's just a few moments where it feels like the comedy is more embarrassing than anything else. That being said, on the subject of horror, Monster House has some phenomenal atmosphere that's occasionally broken by the major problem. The amount of times I've said, "How did no one see that?" over the years are innumerable, and this is the biggest problem I have with the movie. The amount of times where the house should have been exposed to the public for being a monster are ridiculous, and after a while, it's just one of those situations where my suspension of disbelief begins to, well, crumble. Those flaws aside, Monster House has remained one of my favorite Halloween watches for years, and if you haven't seen it, I'd highly recommend it. It's a great watch and a good horror movie for kids, though given some subject matters, maybe wait until your kids are like 8 or 9 to show them this. I also used to play the video games more times than I care to count, and I may dedicate a video to talking about these alone. For now, I'm gonna go rewatch Monster House, and have a happy Halloween.